For this week on Beyond the Stats, we'll dive into the latest college football news. The NBA Finalist Awards were announced and a race for the eighth out in the West, plus our key matchups of the week. But first, The Rock saves the XFL.
This is Beyond the Stats with Zach and Tanner.
For this week on Beyond the Stats, we'll dive into the latest college football news. The NBA Finalist Awards were announced and a race for the eighth out in the West, plus our key matchups of the week. But first, The Rock saves the XFL.
This is Beyond the Stats with Zach and Tanner.
So, Zach, this is something that we haven't talked about since either the first or second episode, really early on, but unfortunately heard that the XFL was shutting down, unfortunately, due to COVID-19. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has saved the XFL. The Rock bought the XFL for $15 million. It was actually just hours before the league was going to be sold via auction. Again, as we know, the XFL declared bankruptcy back in April because of COVID, as I said. But, Zach, the XFL, which both you and I agreed, was a lot more intense and a lot more fun than we had both expected. But, Zach, when you see someone like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson contributing to this, to buy the XFL for $15 million, what were kind of your initial thoughts knowing that he basically saved the football league?
I mean, I'm excited. Also, a couple of things. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the XFL was him and his partner, I believe. But the other thing is he's an ex-football player, played college ball at the University of Miami in the 90s in the middle of their heyday. So he was good enough to play at Miami in the 90s. So clearly was really good in high school. Clearly was a good college football player. Played in the CFL for a little bit. Might have been on a training camp team in the NFL. But I mean, ready to go. Rock, and I'm excited for the XFL to come back in with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. A number of things I think he should. Yeah, I think he should keep it similar, or at least the same. Keep it how it was, because I think it was a good product. It worked the way it was. People were watching it, but it's hard to start a league in the middle of a pandemic like what happened. I mean, it was just terrible timing and out of everyone's control. But I'm excited to see the XFL come back, and I'm excited to see what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does slightly differently than what Vince McMahon did, but I hope they keep a lot of the things the same, because it was really a good product when it was on the field.
And Zach, as you mentioned, the two partners, Danny Garcia and Jerry Cardinale. There's actually a quote that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had. I keep saying "The Rock." I know that's not his official name, but I can't help it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just kind of rolls off the tongue. But he has a quote that he talked on ESPN, and it was, "The acquisition of the XFL with my talented partners, again, Garcia and Cardinale, is an investment for me that's rooted deeply in two things: my passion for the game and my desire to always take care of the fans. With pride and gratitude for all I've built with my own two hands, I plan to apply these cutlasses to the XFL and look forward to creating something special for the players, fans, and everyone involved for the love of football." So obviously, Johnson here is really caring about what the fans thought, because a lot of fans really enjoyed the game and really enjoyed kind of the style that it was played with. And he's just looking out for him, as you said, as a former football player, he understands both for fans, but also from a player's side, how important this is and the shot that they get to play the sport that they love, and for the fans to watch the sport they love. So a great statement made by him. And I don't know about you, but I have full confidence that he's going to do what he can, given the situation that we're in. Luckily, things are starting to kind of slowly but surely go back to normal. But again, big props for him for contributing to this and, saving the XFL. And hopefully it can get back to that popularity that we saw when it was first airing on TV.
Tanner, it should. It was a good product that worked, so it should work again. The one thing they need to bring Oliver Luck back for sure, because he was doing really well as a commissioner of the XFL. They need to bring back Oliver Luck. I hope they don't add any more teams, because there's a good amount of teams. And I mean, there's maybe a couple other things, like I'm curious how many of the coaches come back. Like Pep Hamilton was a head coach, but now he's the quarterbacks coach at the Chargers, and I don't think he leaves the Chargers before even 1 year through to coach in the XFL again. Maybe he could, because maybe he's brave enough to do it because they're different seasons, but that doesn't really make sense to me. Because, I mean, being a coach in a professional sport is a year-round job. But I would be curious to see what happens. Like, does Bob Stoops come back? Howard Bummy. Yeah, like there's a few people who were there and then the XFL shut down. But I think they come back. I'm excited for the XFL. It's somewhere in between college football and the NFL. So it's like an in-between level. I'll be curious to see how many players go from the XFL to the NFL once it restarts. There was a couple of players who are on teams right now in training camp. We'll see if they make the final rosters on their respective teams. But I'm excited to see what the XFL has in store. I mean, players can get drafted from the XFL to the NFL now because it's a different league. And do any players go straight from high school to the XFL and bypass college, kind of like what we're seeing in the NBA with players bypassing college and going to the G League? Yes, the XFL is not affiliated with the NFL like the G League is with the NBA. Like, it's not the same, but I mean, it's possible. I think there's a lateral movement there, and I think the XFL is better football than college football, which would mean that the players that do that are better and would also be playing football all year instead of dealing with the college football rules, like only can practice 20 hours a week, having to go to actual school, things like that. I mean, there's ways that playing in the XFL straight out of high school could be beneficial for the top players coming out of high school because they're getting paid and they're getting 24/7 football instead of like 25 hours a week of organized team practice. And then, obviously the unorganized stuff that happens, but you still have to go to school because you have to maintain a GPA to play. So it'll be interesting to see some of the things that will happen, but I'm really excited for the XFL to return.
And again, a huge thank you to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for contributing to this. Again, I think the key thing is hours before it was about to be sold for an auction. So a big thank you to him. And I'm like you, I'm excited to see where it goes. And hopefully it'll keep that same popularity as when it was first aired. When we come back, we'll dive into the latest college football news. A lot of stuff to talk about. Once again, I'm Tanner Camp with Zachariah Begley, and this is Beyond the Stats.
Back here on Beyond the Stats, Zachariah Begley, joined by the one, the only Tanner Camp. We're talking about college football, specifically the NCAA Division I at FBS level. But yes, college football. It's possibly returning, Tanner.
Yes.
Possibly returning. Hopefully returning.
A lot of stuff has been going on, Zach. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So schedules are out for most people. All the Power 5 conferences have a schedule out. We'll see if that schedule holds up. I mean, there's a number of things. The entire MAC has canceled their season. UConn has canceled the entire MAC has moved to the spring, if we're going to be accurate, and then UConn has canceled their season. There's what's going on with players in the Pac-12 with their movement. Which is, and then there's a number of things. Colorado State has suspended due to racial and abuse allegations. So Colorado State is suspending their college football play but it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens. It's a lot is going on at the moment.
Yes.
And none of it is really play. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, Zach, I mean, as I went through all these news, obviously the big one was, UConn being the first team to kind of let it be known that they were not going to play. And I think what's important to know is that, with UConn, again, when you look at their track record, I think they maybe have 10 wins in the last 5 years. So not great seasons for UConn. So at least when I see that, my first mindset is they probably didn't want to risk, they weren't sure if they were going to have a really good season. So why risk, players potentially getting injured? And of course, with coronavirus, why take a chance with it if, they're not really sure with that. But I think then I kind of, read into the story a little more. And remember this, that, as they were part of the American Athletic Conference, but just last month, they left the American Athletic Conference, making them an independent school. And obviously that's important because one team that you and I kind of joked about was Notre Dame. I mean, what are they going to do? Play a bunch of independent schools? But, Notre Dame obviously joining the ACC so they can partake in the season. But that's one thing that I didn't even think about with UConn, that they left the AAC, American Athletic Conference.
Right.
And that could be one reason why they didn't want to really join, they didn't want to join a conference. They weren't sure how their season was going to go. So they decided we'll just, we just won't play. So that was one story that particularly stuck to me, but you hit it spot on the money when it comes to so much has been going on, but hopefully, depending on how it works out, we have a football season, college football, just so enjoyable to watch, especially, Saturday mornings, knowing there's a plethora of games happening.
Right,
so
right.
I hope it happens, but, just so much has been going on. I didn't know if there was something in particular, a story or any news story to you that kind of stuck out with you, but I know the UConn story was the one that especially drew my eye.
Well, speaking on the UConn story first,
Yep.
They lose money every year playing football. So that's probably part of the reason why the season was, I mean, like if you don't know you're going to play and you're losing money and there's safety concerns, it makes sense to cancel the season. Like UConn doesn't make their money with a football team. Right. UConn is 100% a basketball school. I mean, we all know that.
Absolutely.
But I guess the story that stuck out to me was Colorado State, and the way that they just suspended play after these allegations of racism and abuse and things like that. But so their coach is new. They have a new head coach, Steve Addazio. I hope I'm saying that name right. He's been at Boston College the last 7 years, was fired at Boston College, became the head coach of Colorado State after their head coach left to go coach at Michigan State. So it's interesting to, and it's already under fire. I think suspending play makes a lot of sense. Just to kind of like, we're going to cool it here. Let's figure out what actually happened, and then we'll start making some decisions. Like, let's just stop and figure out what's going on for a few seconds here. I mean, that's like the move. And being like, we don't want these things are not tolerated here. And we want to really know what's going on. And we don't want people playing or things happening that can cloud the judgment. Let's sit down. Let's interview players. Let's interview coaches. Let's interview trainers. Let's just find out what is going on and then make some decisions based off that. Like really sitting down and investigating in the proper way. Like I have to applaud the Colorado State Athletic Department for trying to get this right.
Absolutely. Yes.
By suspending play and getting answers before anything else happens. I think the key word is suspended. It's not saying that they're going to completely stop the season. They still got a little bit of time before things start, right,
but know, they're not just letting this they're not just letting this fly over their head. I mean, we've seen this in a lot of stories. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks. Like it will not be tolerated. It's not, there's no place for that for anywhere, whether it be a player saying to a coach, coach to player, whoever it may be in what department. There's no place for it, and it's not fair. So they want to just take a minute. Don't worry about football right now. Let's figure everything out. And if we do or when we do, we'll try to get back with the season. But Zach, a spot on the money with the Colorado State athletic department. They're not just going to be like, oh, well, we'll just let it go on, but get to football, because no, that's not how they want it to work.
They're not trying to let it kind of blow over, and then
Absolutely.
we forget about it once football season returns.
Yep.
Like, they're like, let's just figure out what's going on. Let's get ahead of it. It's not only is it the right move, it's a good PR move to be like, we're stopping this. We're going to get ahead of this. We're going to figure out what's going on, and then we're going to take the necessary actions.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I just applaud Colorado. Yeah, kind of moving to the next thing. I mean, the MAC just moved their entire season to the spring. And I'm wondering if that moves other conferences, because, I mean, well, the MAC gets most of their money from their out-of-conference games where people pay them to come play. And then so like Power 5 schools might pay them to come play a game at Michigan or at Alabama or at Ohio State or at USC or something. And that's where the MAC makes most of their money during football season. And if those games aren't happening, plus they can't have fans in the stands, which also makes money, it makes sense to move it to the spring and kind of see if other teams do the same thing, because it's hard to say that that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if other sports start moving to the spring. It would make sense to move it after. Yeah, I don't know when they would start. They would probably have to start January, and then they'd be competing with basketball, which would be interesting, and the NCAA would have to find a way to make sure March Madness and the college football playoff don't happen at the same time. I mean, the college football playoff is like 2 weeks versus like a month, but moving the football season to the spring, I don't think it makes sense to put those at the same time, because then they're battling against each other. Maybe you do the college football. Yeah, I don't know where you do the college football playoff, but I don't think playing them at the same time definitely doesn't make any sense.
And Zach, when you talk about with the MAC in general, again, as you said, it kind of gets some of its recognition from playing those big games. In fact, it has said that they were impacted financially by the Power Five's decision to deploy just a conference only schedule. I mean, 11 of its games were against Big Ten opponents. It was canceled because of that, which cost over $10 million for schools in the MAC. So obviously impacted not just for players not playing in the fall, but obviously financially. That's something we try not to get too much into, but it's still something important that you have to mention. But it kind of goes with college football, the theme of certain teams have just decided we're not going to worry about it yet. UConn deciding just not going to do that, not taking any risk. Colorado State suspending it until they can figure out answers. There's that theme of still playing certain things by ear, as you said. I mean, we have these conference schedules, but we still don't know how set they're going to be yet. And it all plays into where everything goes, as long as, people continue to take the safety precautions. Like, I applaud the NBA, which we'll talk about at least with other awards and stuff. But they have not had any COVID cases in the last couple of weeks because they're so serious about trying to keep the players healthy. So it just goes by how other people treat, with COVID. Hopefully we're going in the right direction, but it could also be a matter of time before a spike happens. But that's kind of the one big theme with everything here.
Right. And the last thing we should talk about, we have to talk about the Pac-12 football players obviously are threatening to boycott the season with their movement. #WeAreUnited is what they're calling it. And they have a list of demands like ending of racial injustice in college sports, increased protection from the virus. And then, of course, they're asking for pay. They're asking for 50% of the revenue at the moment. I mean, they won't get 50% of the revenue. I don't think they'll probably get, honestly, probably like 15% based on how it goes. Like, they have to start somewhere, and they went really high because they know if they go high, then they're more likely to get something lower. But yeah, so I mean, it's kind of what is going on there is the question. I'm glad that they're like, we have some demands, we're asking for some things, and I think, yeah, I mean, so obviously asking for better virus protection makes 100% sense. You're asking me to come and play football for you, but you don't feel, and you expect me to be here, but you're not doing everything you can to make it the safest possible thing. Like that's not what should. Yeah, so that makes sense. Ending of racial injustice. I mean, obvious. It's 2020. Come on, like these things do not need to be happening anymore, anywhere in America, in the world. So it makes sense that they're asking for that. And then the other thing is asking for financial gain. These players make millions of dollars for the colleges. Like, I mean, not every college. Obviously, UConn is an example. They're losing money by running a football season. But in the Pac-12, these players are making money for their colleges. So asking for some of the revenue makes sense, because for the amount of money they're worth versus the amount of money they're offered in terms of room and board in school is not equal. Like, we're talking like $60,000 versus a top flight Pac-12 player earning the college maybe like 140 or 100, like a lot of money. Like, a star player in the Pac-12 is worth a lot, way more than the $60, $70, $80,000 their scholarship is worth. So all these things are making a lot of sense. So what's the move? What's going to happen? I don't know, but these demands are fair. I think they're asking for things that make sense. And yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens going forward.
And Zach, I mean, as I kind of have mentioned before, with everything, and specifically staying with this Pac-12, it's just a matter of time. They're going to sit down, think about, what's in the best interest, which, as you said, I with the Pac-12, I understand their demands, 50%, obviously kind of that little strategic. Well, if we ask for lower, it'll be lower. But if you ask for higher, then that next offer might be a little higher than they were expecting, or right where they want. But, as you said, a lot of the theme with this, as I've said, it just comes with time. And I think right now, with a lot of stuff happening in the sports world, again, certain sports are doing well for the most part, like NBA is doing well. MLB was doing well, but of course, every once in a while we get some. But for a lot of teams in the MLB, but staying with, with college football just comes with time. I hope it all works out. That's asking them for a lot, because, there's just so much going on with college football and so many different teams that I won't be surprised if we see a couple more stories of other schools, or I hope we get some more finalization stuff, maybe not within the next week, but hopefully soon, to, kind of get some details, because and you're just like me, I'm a huge college football fan, and hoping to see the teams play. Now, obviously, certain schools, with no fans, it'll be tough, because that's how they build a lot of momentum. Right. But by the end of the day, a lot of players, their mindset is as long as we can, get what we need to that is fair for us, but also get to play in those uniforms and play for our school. Hopefully it'll all work out here within the next few weeks.
Right. We're going to wrap this segment up. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the awards and the awards for the NBA season. The finalists have been announced. Yeah. Come back. This is Zach and Tanner on Beyond the Stats.
Welcome back to Beyond the Stats. As always, I'm Tanner Camp, and as always, I say this before, but as always, the one, the only, Zachariah Begley is along with me. Zach, literally today, I think about an hour or so before we were getting ready to go on, they announced the NBA finalists for the awards, like Rookie of the Year, MVP, Defensive Player, Sixth Man, Most Improved, and Coach of the Year. Zach, perfect timing for this. So, Zach, I've got the list. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to have to try to figure out who they are. Are you ready?
Yeah. Pick,
All right,
I don't know. Whatever you want to start with.
All right. Well, let's go with Rookie of the Year because that was the first one that was announced. So Rookie of the Year finalist, who do you think for all categories, there were 3 each nominees. So for Rookie of the Year, who do you think it is?
It's definitely Zion and Ja.
Yep.
Even though I don't know how Zion, I understand because in his limited time play, he was really, really good.
Yep.
But he shouldn't win it. I'm going to also make predictions who I think is going to win it since we're here.
I completely get that. Who do you think that the third person is, though?
Yeah. Oof. That's hard. I'm trying to think of rookies that were really good. Brandon Clark was really good. Roy Hachimura was pretty good for Washington. Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero. So he had 2 good rookies this year.
Yes, they did.
Trying to think of all the rookies. Kobe White was pretty good for the Bulls.
Mm-hmm. Rookie class did not disappoint this year for sure.
No, it didn't. It's probably. Oh, that's hard. I want to say it's Roy Hachimura because he was really good for the Wizards, but it was probably Kendrick Nunn because he had a really, really, really good first month and a half, and then solid the rest of the way, but was really good that first month and a half of the season.
And you got all 3 of them right. It was obviously John and Zion, and then Kendrick Nunn. So spot on the money. Now, who do you think deserves to win it for Rookie of the Year?
John Morant deserves to win it, and I think he does win it.
Yeah,
because Zion played 20 games, and that's not enough.
And you don't want to take that away because honestly, if he could probably produce these same numbers if he had a whole season. And you feel bad for him because he was the likely candidate going in, but. You got to give props to Ja. You got to give props.
Zion lived up to the hype, honestly. Yes, maybe even exceeded the hype a little bit. Zion doesn't miss in the paint. I can't think of it. Well, okay, he misses, but then he always gets the putback. So it's he doesn't miss in the paint, or he gets the putback if he does miss on the rare occasions he does. Because I'll just see him throw the ball at the hoop and it just rolls its way into the bucket. And I'm like, you're not even trying. This is unfair.
But spot on the money. Spot on the money.
Ja should win. Ja led them to the 8th seed. I don't know if they make the play. We'll talk about that in the next segment.
We'll talk about that later. It's another good segment. But we're going to save MVP for last, of course. That's the big award. But so Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you think the 3 nominees are?
Anthony Davis.
Yep.
I'm trying to think who was good at defense. Pascal Siak? No.
Nope. Pascal's not on there. Anthony Davis.
I'm saying no to Pascal. Even though they had the number 1 defense. Mm-hmm. Oh, Giannis. Giannis is on the list.
Yep. Giannis is on there. Yep.
Obviously. The third one. It's probably a wing player. It's not Kawhi. Kawhi didn't play enough games, I don't think.
I wish he would. It is not Kawhi.
Okay, I was going to say, if it was Kawhi, what? I honestly don't know who the third person is.
Are you ready?
Is it a big? Wait, is it a wait?
It is a big.
It's a big. Okay. It's a big. Is it Rudy?
It is Rudy Gobert. Yep.
Okay.
So it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, and Rudy Gobert. Zach, of those 3,
Giannis.
Who do you think deserves? Do you think Giannis?
Giannis. Just Giannis. Lowest field goal percentage against in the paint. All 3 of them guard in the paint. Also, Giannis is the best perimeter defender of the 3. It's not even that close. He basically runs the entire defense for the Bucks. Anthony Davis is really important, and so is Rudy Gobert. But Giannis is Giannis. I think he should win it. There's really no one better than Giannis on defense at the moment.
Completely understand that. Now, this next one is going to be tough for you, I think.
Okay.
The 6th man of the year. I think I know who you got 1 for.
So, Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell are 1 and 2.
Both of them.
The third one, Goran Dragic.
This surprised me. It was not Goran Dragic. This surprised me, but based on when I look back on their season, it is. Do you want me to just let you know who it is?
No.
Okay.
I want to keep.
Go ahead.
I have a couple other guesses. Derrick
Okay.
Rose is another guess I have.
Good guess, but nope, not Derrick Rose.
Trying to think of 6 men. What team? No, don't tell me that. I don't know.
How about conference at least?
Yeah, conference.
Western Conference.
Okay, so all in the West. Oh. Now I've less. Dennis Schroeder?
Yes, it was Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell should share it.
Just share it.
Yeah, co 6 men of the year. They both average 18 points a game off the bench.
Sixth
Men, yes.
of the year.
Yes, they should share the award.
I mean,
if I had a vote, I would say they should share the award because they should. They together they average 18 points a game off the bench separately.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 36 points a game combined
just
off the bench.
I mean, these are guys that in just about every other team they probably start. I mean, they should honestly, but
you could argue they should. You could argue that they could start in the Clippers, but
yeah.
like yeah, it makes sense because you don't necessarily want your 5 best players playing on the floor all at once because you want to be able to have good players on the floor at all points throughout the game. So I understand why they're coming off the bench and Doc Rivers is making a good move there, but I don't think you can give one without the other. I think you have to give it to them together. And Dennis Schroeder had a really good year off the bench for the Thunder, but I think you have to give it to them together.
And that's what I was going to say before we move. I'll say this before we go to most improved and give props to Dennis Schroeder. I mean, give props to the Thunder. They were a team that once they lost Westbrook, a lot of people thought they were going to go down.
Right.
I give Chris Paul a lot of credit, and Dennis Schroeder has helped them in their success. So absolutely, I agree with that.
I mean, you should give Billy Donovan a lot of credit. Yeah, I mean, he maybe should be coach of the year.
So as we move to most improved player, who do you think the 3 candidates are for most improved? This is always kind of a tricky category, but
right. Brandon Ingram has to be one.
Absolutely, he's on there.
Pascal Siakam won it last year, so I don't think he can win it again.
He improved even more than he did last year.
Yeah, he did, but I don't think that necessarily means he should
on
the MIP list. Let's see. Who are the other 2? I'm trying to think of people who. Mo Wagner improved a lot, but that was early in the year. So I don't know if I don't think he's on the list.
Nope.
I'm trying to think. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander improved a lot, but I don't. He's probably a year away.
Yeah.
He's probably a year away from that list. Ooh. Trying to think who improved a lot in the last year. Or from last year to this year. I honestly don't even know.
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah, I'm just going to need the list.
From the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic.
Oh. I didn't even think about that because he was so good his rookie year.
But now he's like insanely good this year.
Now he's like an MVP candidate. So
I think you're going to like this next one. Now that I see the name, I absolutely agree. Ready for this? How about this? From the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo.
Oh, that makes total sense. Wow, I should have thought about that one. That one makes total sense.
When he was drafted by the Heat, I was kind of expecting to be a pretty good backup because that's when I believe they still had Hassan Whiteside. So one of those come in the game, kind of just
sense.
Help Hassan. But I give props. His development.
16, 10, and 5 a game. I mean, ridiculous.
Which he called, might I add. He called that against Dwayne Wade that he would average exactly that. He actually said that. I saw that on something on social media. But nope, it's Bam, Luka, and Brandon Ingram. But who do you think wins it?
Brandon Ingram, I think, wins it. I mean, he went from averaging like 13 points a game to like 24 points a game. And also, Brandon Ingram is a bucket.
Yes, he is. I agree.
Mean, Bam Adebayo is a better defender.
Luka might be the all-around best player on that list.
Here's the thing. Luka's the best player on that list, but also he improved the least. He averaged like 22 points a game last year. He's up to 29 now and almost averaging a triple-double. But last year he was insane, and this year he's on another level, but he improved the least. I think Brandon Ingram improved the most. Bam Adebayo was given a starting role.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have been that last year. Yeah. But Brandon Ingram, I think, improved the most of the
choice.
three.
Yep. It was definitely what he needed for confidence in terms of scoring and just all aspects. So hopefully, maybe we'll see them in a playoff, but we'll hopefully see here for Brandon's sake. So for Coach of the Year, who do you think? There's three of them.
So Billy Donovan.
Yeah, we're absolutely spot on the money with that.
Budenholzer is on it because, well, his team has a number one record.
Mm-hmm.
And probably Frank Vogel for the Lakers.
Not Frank Vogel.
Doc Rivers.
Not Doc Rivers. I'll let you know this. It's an Eastern Conference team.
Oh, it's an Eastern Conference team. Ooh. Steve Clifford for the Magic?
Not Steve Clifford.
I'm blanking on Boston head coach's name all of a sudden. This is awkward.
Oh, Brad Stevens?
Brad Stevens.
It's not Brad Stevens, but Zach.
No, I know. It was a terrible moment. Brad Stevens. Geez. Scott Brooks for the Wizards? No.
Nope.
Nate McMillan?
Not Nate I want to say yes. It's not. I want to say yes, but...
All joke. Okay, we all know it's not Jim Boylan, the worst coach in the NBA. I say that as a Bulls fan. A very sad Bulls fan. Oh, Eric Spoelstra.
Not Eric Spoelstra.
It's not Eric Spoelstra? He should be on the list. He should be on the list. Yeah, I mean, okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's Nick Nurse.
Oh, that makes sense. I
give props. At first,
Nick Nurse. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
He helped lead a Raptors team that, honestly, a lot of people, including myself, I'll fully admit, when they lost Kawhi, I was like, they might not do so well. Nick Nurse just had a good. No, I give full props. Give full props. That Raptors team is still.
I mean, okay, so the Raptors are still. I knew the Raptors were still a playoff team without Kawhi, but I didn't think they would be the number one defensive team.
No,
I didn't think they would lose the best perimeter defender in the NBA and become a better defensive team, and also have a better record than last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fair. Who wins it? I think Billy Donovan wins it.
I agree with you. I know based off records, he has kind of, I believe it's 5th or 6th seed still. Right. But at the same time, like, you got to give props. This was a team that I didn't even think was playoff bound, to be honest. Maybe 8th seed, but
no, but Billy Donovan, I think, wins it. We only have one left. Actually, there's 2 left.
What's the second one?
Executive of the Year. Is that not announced?
It did not show up on any of the sites that I found.
Bummer.
But of course, you know what the other one is.
Executive of the Year. I mean, you have to. Okay, whoever is the lead executive for the Clippers wins that. I'm just gonna say that even though it's on the list. MVP. Let's see the list. LeBron, Giannis. It's between Luka and Anthony Davis.
I will let you know this. Neither of those two are on there.
What? Oh, the third. Okay, Giannis and LeBron are 1 and 2.
Giannis and LeBron, you're spot on the money.
Neither Luka or Anthony Davis are the third person?
Nope.
That's surprising. Is it Jokic?
It is not Jokic, even though I wish it was.
Okay. I just want to... Eastern or Western Conference?
Western Conference.
Oh, Kawhi.
Not Kawhi.
Paul George?
Not Paul George.
Oh,
what if I give you this hint? He's a former MVP winner.
Oh, James Harden?
It is James Harden, yep.
Okay, well, James Harden shouldn't win it. He's good. He's great, but I don't think he should win it. I think it should go to Giannis. I think Giannis should win Defensive Player of the Year and MVP.
I could. Yeah. I mean, I have the numbers for Giannis. I mean, averaging almost 30 points, 29.7 points, little over 13 and a half rebounds. Both of those, third for points, second for rebounds, and still averaging 6 assists. That's very impressive.
I don't think you can pick anyone other than Giannis. The Lakers aren't great without LeBron, but the Bucks are worse without Giannis. Like, the Lakers aren't great without LeBron, but they still have Anthony Davis.
Yes.
The drop off for the Bucks is a lot farther. Like the Bucks are almost bad without Giannis. They might be an 8th or 7th seed in the East, but with Giannis, they're like the best team they have the best record in the NBA. So.
And you don't want to take that away from players like Chris Middleton,
right.
Brook Lopez, but I mean Giannis's impact on the court is just unlike anything we've seen, honestly, since when LeBron was first part of like the Cavaliers and helping them get to a finals. Obviously swept by the Spurs, but that Spurs team was that they were winning from almost the start. But no, I agree with the pick. It's kind of the impact that he's made. My order for that is Giannis first. If LeBron were to win, I give props. He is having a good year. He has, Anthony Davis. But,
and he's in the league in assists for the first time in his career, so that's fair. But I think Giannis should win it.
I agree. So those are the awards. Hopefully we'll find out soon. Hopefully when we get more, we'll see how many you can get. You did pretty well in some, and some were tough. We're also pretty tough.
Yeah, I didn't do well in the MIP, but that's okay. The third. No, it wasn't the MIP.
Yeah, but
that's fine.
No, those are the awards, and again, we'll keep you up to date with who wins what. When we come back, there's a race in the NBA for the 8th spot out in the West. We'll talk more. Once again, I'm Tanner Camp with Zachariah Begley, and this is Beyond the Stats.
Welcome back to Beyond the Stats. Tanner Camp joining me. I'm Zachariah Begley. We're talking about the race for 8th in the West. I mean, yeah. Every team is within 2.5 games. The rule is if you're within 4 games, you get a play-in game. So we're at 4. We're halfway through. So the hot teams right now, the really hot teams are the Blazers and the Suns. The Suns haven't lost yet. The Blazers are a half game out. Memphis is in that 8th spot, but they just lost Jaren Jackson Jr. for the season. So their second best player was lost for the season. So that's tough. I mean, Tanner, I think Memphis finds a way to stay within that 4 games, and I think it'll be interesting to see what they do if every team is like within 2 games.
I
do
know.
They only take the 9th seed? That's
what I'm curious. No, I'm like you. I was thinking about this whole week. Like, wait, because to be exact, Memphis is in the 8th seed. Portland is in the 9 technically, but then it's still close. I mean, San Antonio's still within 2 games of the Trailblazers, along with Phoenix and the Pelicans, and then Sacramento. I mean, they're going to have to make something here soon, but within the next 2 or 3 games they lose, they're probably not going to be able to make it. But still, beyond Sacramento, like every team in between Memphis and Phoenix is within, as you said, 2.5 games. So even
Sacramento's right at 2.5 games,
and exactly the 2.5. I mean, they still at 29 and 40 with this restart here, but it's gonna be. It just depends on how hot. I mean, if Phoenix stays hot, they're gonna be right there.
And same with Trailblazers. So Devin Booker's he's like, I can't not make the playoffs again. He's tired of not making the playoffs.
He's ready. He's ready to show that because he's just kind of mostly known as a scorer, but his passing's improved. His defense has even improved a bit.
Right.
He's still known as a scorer, and that's what he will be for the Suns.
Right. He's a scorer, but he's also kind of their leading facilitator. I mean, Rubio's there, but
that's a good person for Booker to look to. Rubio has always been a good facilitator. He can score when he needs to, but as a facilitator, Rubio is very good at that. Obviously, Ayton is a really good down low presence for the Suns. I mean, he was great at Arizona, doing very well for Phoenix. Like, I'm just so excited. I mean, we're about halfway through this restart before we get to the playoffs, which I'm super excited about, but we might get a little taste of how intense it's going to be. Because again, right now it would be Memphis and Portland, at least based on 8-9. We'll see how strict they might have to do a play-in for the 9th before they do the play-in for the 8th and 9th. So the only time will tell, Zach. I'm like you. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but it's still a really close battle, and I'm so excited to find out how things wrap up here.
Yeah, it's going to be what's the answer? Okay. I'm going to make some predictions. I think Trailblazers finish in the 8th. I think the Suns finish in the 9th. Then it'll be the Pelicans. Actually, it'll be Memphis in 10th, Pelicans in 11th, Spurs in 12th, and then the Kings in 13th. Yeah, 13th.
Yeah.
So it'll be close. It'll be really close, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it's going to be real close.
Definitely. And as we kind of get ready to wrap this up soon, I think my prediction is, I really want Memphis to, because for Ja's sake and for that Grizzlies team, because they've been waiting for that chance. But Jalen Jackson Jr. was his development has been great for the Grizzlies. And when Ja was coming, and Valanciunas, I think, is a good center, and Brandon Clark, of course. But it's so unfortunate. I don't want to see them drop out. I won't even be surprised, as much as it pains me to say. I won't be surprised if they, like you predicted, fall completely out of that spot, as much as I don't want them to. But I'm like you. I think it's going to be Portland and Phoenix. I think Phoenix keeps their winning ways. I think they're the one that makes it in. They'll play the Lakers, which will be a tough game, but they've shown that they can beat a good team like the Clippers. We've seen Devin Booker, his iconic shot to help them win, go viral. But I think Phoenix rides this until they make it into the playoffs. That's my prediction, beating the Trailblazers with that.
So
but
I disagree with you, only because the Trailblazers made the Western Conference Finals last year, and they have way more playoff experience. I mean, if you look at it, the Suns have Ayton, but the Blazers have Nurkic and Hassan Whiteside and Zach Collins, and they have Lillard, and they have McCollum, and they have Melo, who's playing lights out, and they have Gary Trent Jr. off the bench, who's playing lights out. And I mean, I don't know. Like, the Suns have Devin Booker, and then they have Rubio, and then they have Ayton, and then the fall off after the third guy for the Suns is a lot farther than it is for the Blazers. I think the Blazers are the better team, and the reason they're kind of in that spot is injuries, and now everyone's healthy.
Yep, definitely.
So, I think the Blazers are the 8th seed, and I think they play the Lakers, and I think they take the Lakers to 6 or even 7.
It'll be fun to see, though. I think we can both guarantee that for sure.
When we come back, we'll be talking about matchups of the week. This is Zach and Tanner on Beyond the Stats.
Back here on Beyond the Stats, I'm Tanner Camp alongside Zachariah Begley. Now it's time for what we think are our top 5 matchups in sports. And Zach, unfortunately, NHL's, at least in terms of those first games, so I know I don't have any NHL stuff, but do you? We'll see. We'll find out. Zach, how about you kick things off here?
All right. I don't have any NHL stuff. My top 5 matchups of the week. In the ones, this is not really in order, but I'm going to read it because that's how I wrote it. In 1, it's Spurs versus Pelicans because they're in the race for the 8th.
Yep.
Number 2 is Suns and Heat because Heat have been playing well. Suns have been playing insanely well. So you can't go wrong with that. In the 3rd spot, it's the Trailblazers and the Mavericks because Doncic and Porzingis versus Lillard, McCollum, and Nurkic and Melo, or Lillard, McCollum, and Melo, really. That's going to be a good game. In that 4th spot, Nuggets and Raptors because I think the Nuggets are just an interesting team right now with no Jamal Murray, and then and they've added Bull and Michael Porter Jr. And then the Raptors are the best defensive team in basketball right now. They have the number 1 defense, or the number 2 defense in basketball. The Bucks have the number 1 defense in basketball, but it'll be. I'm excited. That's a good game. And then in my 5th spot, my 1 MLB game of the week because the Yankees and Rays are still going on, but I picked that matchup last week, so I can't pick it again. So I'm going with the Brewers and
That's
Cubs.
That's the rule.
Which start on Friday. They start on Friday, and it'll be the 2nd series between the Brewers and the Cubs. But the first one, the Brewers only took 1 of 3, but those games were really close. So it'll be a good matchup.
Very good picks. I like the reasoning for it. So for the NBA, I've got on Monday at 5:30, it's Toronto, Milwaukee. I mean, but lo and behold, they're the two best teams in the Eastern Conference, and most likely we'll still see. We'll wait till we get there. A high chance that they'll see each other in the Eastern Conference Finals, but a little taste of what we see from them as they play against each other. My next game, I've got New Orleans versus Sacramento, kind of as the same reason that you have, both fighting for that last spot. I think that's an important game, which is on Tuesday for the Kings. That's one of those games that could honestly make it or break it for both teams. Specifically Sacramento, if they lose, I think that they might officially be out of contention, but who knows? We'll wait till we get there. And then I had so many good matchups, but I think the one I got to stay with, my personal favorite team, the Pacers versus the Heat, which will be on Monday. The last time they played, Butler and Warren really got into it, and Warren has been playing absolutely amazing since this restart here. And I think he's ready to kind of show Butler to see how well he's been playing. And I think, the Pacers are ready for that challenge. So I'm going to go with the Pacers and the Heat for that one. So I got two MLB games. I got to go Red Sox Yankees. Starts on Friday. It's a 4-game series. Along with the Cubs and Cardinals, by far the Red Sox Yankees, one of the best rivalries in baseball and also in sports. So I got to put that. And then for my last game, I've got the Cubs versus the Indians, which starts Tuesday. And then it's a quick 2-game series. I mean, as a Cubs fan, Zach, it's a rematch from that World Series. Which was absolutely great, a perfect 7-game series. I know the Cubs are kind of, the Indians are just above 500 and the Cubs have the better record, but still, any chance you can play a team, the Indians have probably always had the Cubs circled in red on their calendar because of that World Series. So those are my 5 matchups for the reasons. And Zach, it's going to be exciting to see how all the games turn out. And the most important thing from this, we're excited to have live sports back.
Very true, Tanner. One of your matchups I was going to make a comment on.
Okay, what you got?
The Heat and Pacers. Is Jimmy Butler officially back? Is my only question. I know he was true. Out. I know he was true. Out, and I haven't seen anything about him being back. So
that's true. So we'll keep an eye, but still, regardless,
it'll be a good matchup regardless. I was just wondering if Butler, because if Butler comes back, that makes it just even more interesting.
That is very true. So with or without Butler, obviously with Butler, will make it a lot more interesting. But either way, still another good series, because I was down between them or the Clippers or Nuggets, but both obviously still really good games. But yeah, just great to have live sports and a lot of good matchups coming up here. And that's all that we have for you today. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Beyond the Stats. Beyond the Stats is on most podcasting sites. So if you could leave us some feedback, we appreciate it. As I've said before and still will, we love doing this. We love getting the chance to talk some sports here, especially now that everything is back and live. We're on YouTube as well, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and do not forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our content.
This is Beyond the Stats with Zach and Tanner.